Hello everybody, it's Thursday and we're here for another session of Weeds and Wisdom. I'm glad to see everybody and I welcome any newcomers that we may have this evening. Tonight we're going to talk about a couple of really interesting topics. Before I get started, I'll just remind everybody that previous Facebook Lives are uploaded onto the Crooked House Herbals YouTube channel. We are experiencing a little trouble getting the last 3 or 4 up, only because Facebook's formatting has changed, and so we're having to do a couple of different things in order to make that happen, but eventually they'll get up there. Otherwise, they're still on Facebook for 30 days, so you can download them onto your own computer if you need to, or, do it that way if there's something that you really just want to hang on to. And I don't know about you guys, but we are having some mighty weird weather up here tonight. It's been raining all day, but then it got really cold and sucked in fog. And now it's really windy, and I don't know, it's just the weirdest weather ever. So I'm not sure how your weather is, but mine's interesting. But hour by hour, it's changing. I mean, I literally had to change my clothes, get something warmer on, and turn on my little fireplace heaters because my house was damp and cold. So interesting. But neither here nor there. It's Arkansas and it's springtime, so we'll see what happens. And they manipulate the weather, so we never know what we're going to wake up to, right? Okay, tonight, what's this? There we go. I'm just going to give another couple minutes, get everybody on here before we get started. Also, you can contact me, Wendy, at crookedhouseherbals.com. You can message me here at Crooked House Herbals Facebook on Messenger. You can send me a text if you've got my phone number. And I'll be happy to help you with anything I can help you with. That's what I'm here for. And hello, Emma. I see that you just joined us. It's good to see you. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Tonight's two topics that I chose are two things that, I just kind of, I go from week to week to see what's put in my hand to do. And I have this outcropping of, I told you last week, I had so much goat's rue, and I had no goat's rue last year, and now I'm just buried in it. And so that tells me that it's going to be needed and necessary. So I harvest and I process it, and I have it on hand to add to formulas and to help people with, because there are so many benefits of goat's rue. Tonight, similarly, I have another outcropping of something called Wild Geranium. Now, unfortunately, I have to use my phone for these lives, and I'm not able to show you pictures of it on my computer. But if you Google Wild Geranium, you'll be able to see the pictures of it. It's the leaves, how regular geranium has more of a scalloped edge. Well, Wild Geranium is more pointy, but you're going to be amazed at the benefits. And right now, you can pretty much find it everywhere. Again, it's one of those that, last year we didn't see hide nor hair of it, and this year it's everywhere you look. So I thought I would tune you into it so you can keep your eyes peeled and be on the lookout. But here's a little background on Wild Geranium. It was used a lot by the Native Americans, the Choctaw, the Cherokee, several different tribes, for medicinal purposes. They used it to relieve coughs and sore throats. They used it as a laxative. They used it as an antiseptic and as an emetic. An emetic is something that makes you throw up. So I don't know if you realize this, but that's one of the easiest ways to get something out of your system is throw up. That's why when you get food poisoning, you vomit and you have diarrhea, because your body is going, get this out of here. And so through every orifice possible, you are ejecting toxic stuff. And sometimes you need an emetic. It's just like sometimes even with animals, you need an emetic. Lobelia is a really good emetic. A little bit, it works as a transfer herb, and it will take things to different parts of your body that are needed. If you use too much of it, it will, cause you to vomit and get rid of stuff. So you have to use wisdom when using a lobelia. But geraniums, you can use all parts of the geranium. You can use the leaves, you can use the flowers, you can use the roots. It's all edible. But some varieties are like a little more hairy than others. We're talking wild geraniums here. Actually, any kind of geranium is edible. I don't know if you knew that. Most people don't think about eating geraniums because they kind of have a weird smell. But there's a lot of medicinal properties in geraniums. A lot. They're not just pretty and bright flowers. But with wild geraniums, you're going to notice that they have a purpley colored flower. You'll see them a lot in parks and meadows and that kind of thing. And the flowers are actually very fragrant. You can use them in salad a lot, like we use the violets and dandelions and that kind of thing. The leaves, you can eat them raw, or you can cook them with other spring greens. My advice is always, if you're going to cook something, you cook it on very low heat, slowly. Because the higher the heat and the longer you cook something on a high heat, the more you kill all of the nutrients that are in it. And then you're basically just eating empty food, which we get enough of that. We don't need to do it to ourselves. Today, oh my gosh, I was in the store and my husband requested a certain thing for dinner this weekend, and it requires a can of soup. And it's like, ugh. And I thought, well, I could make my own, but I don't know if I'm going to have time. So I searched the shelves for a can of soup that did not on the label say bioengineered food product. All of them say that, except for one brand, and it's an organic brand of soup. So you need to read your labels really well, because they're bioengineering everything, and they're slipping stuff in on us at every turn. And you don't want to be phobic about it. You pray over your food and hope for the best. Keep your diatomaceous earth and your bentonite clay handy in case you need it. But we're not getting the nutrition from our food that we used to, even just 5-10 years ago. And so you really need to be vigilant when you're shopping and doing things like that, and try not to purposely buy bioengineered foods. And there are words that they use to disguise certain things, like the bugs and the different things they put in the food. They have different words. So you kind of have to do a little bit of your research and look things up for yourself. Okay, we'll start with the culinary uses of geranium, wild geranium. The flowers, you can use them in salads, you can use them in desserts, you can even use them in tea. They're very beneficial, but they also have a really nice flavor. Wild geranium is an herb that is capable of adding, if you're one of those cooks that likes to add depth to your food and your dishes, and you're desiring presentation, wild geranium is one that you can't really go wrong with. That and the wild violets as well. But the wild violets are, quickly fading. So we had a window of time with that. And then the flower aspect is going to be gone before too long. The leaves and stuff are still, usable and medicinal, but the flowers are almost gone. Okay, here's some of the medicinal benefits of wild geranium. One of the first ones that jumped out at me was the way that it helps to work with anxiety and stress. It has a lot of qualities that address stress and anxiety. And most of the time, you'll find wild geranium in an essential oil, form, so that you can have a concentrated essential oil to use for certain things, and that would be, a good thing for a roll-on or whatever if you need it for stress or anxiety. But you could also use it as a tea and just drink a good strong cup of wild geranium tea, and it would have the same effects. Let's see. Oh, it's also really good for labor and delivery, that kind of stress as well, along with astragalus, which we know is an adaptogenic, and those kinds of adaptogenic herbs that help you deal with stress, any kind of stress, whether it's physical or mental or emotional. Adaptogenic herbs are here for that. Ginseng and astragalus and passion flower and wild geranium. Okay, there is an article in a 2015 Journal of Caring Sciences that addresses the benefits of wild geranium essential oil and how on the effects on stress and anxiety. And there's some good studies out there. So if you want the science behind it, if you need a little more than just the herbalist's word for it, do your research. You'll find it. It's there. Okay. The result of that study showed that the mean anxiety score decreased significantly after inhaling geranium essential oil, just inhaling it. So, these guys were hooked up and their anxiety levels were being monitored, and their anxiety levels went down almost immediately. So that tells me if you have an anxious household, essential oil diffusers would be a good thing to have around, and wild geranium would be something good to diffuse, or an office, an office space that can be stressful at times, anything like that. It's also very good for your brain. It's an anti-neuroinflammatory, so it can really benefit like neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, those kinds of things, ALS, where you've got inflammation, like neuroinflammation, wild geranium essential oil. And there are some studies to back that up as well. It is a very good anti-inflammatory for the same reasons. Low-level inflammation is thought to be the root of many conditions and diseases. We've talked about inflammation at length, and we know that inflammation is the root. We also know that a lot of the food we eat causes inflammation, and the toxins in our water add to inflammation. Fluoride and those kinds of things add to inflammation. We've been taking that stuff in for years, probably most of our life. So by the time you get to be my age or older, you're suffering with inflammatory conditions because it's taken that long for your body to just finally go, I give up, I can't do this anymore. And you're just overrun with inflammation. So wild geranium is a very good anti-inflammatory, and of course coming along with lessening inflammation is lessening pain. So any kind of inflammatory condition like arthritis and eczema, any kind of skin condition, scales, even things like what am I trying to say? Oh, it's the end of my day. That you get from chickenpox. I'll think of it in a second. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. all those kinds of things would respond well to wild geranium essential oil. So you might want to add that to your list of things that you want to have in your medicine cabinet. It's been investigated as a source of new, safer anti-inflammatory drugs. So they're looking at it very closely. The researchers have found that the essential oil has significant potential for the development of novel anti-inflammatory drugs with improved safety profiles. I mean, there's nothing unsafe about wild geranium. God's good that way. So, where it becomes unsafe is when man gets involved and starts jacking with it. It's good to see you, Sandy. This might be some good information for you. I was just talking about multiple sclerosis and some other different types of diseases that respond well to wild geranium and wild geranium essential oil. Skin health, okay, that's another thing. I use wild geranium in my 7 Years Young. I use it in a couple of my different skincare products in my line. But I like it for its antibacterial properties. It's very antiseptic. So if you get a cut, or whatever, and you don't happen to have any lavender around, or you don't have any of those other things, but you've got your wild geranium, you could make a strong tea and do a wash with it. Or if you've got the essential oil, you could put that on directly. It reduces inflammation. It heals skin conditions like psoriasis and eczema. It stops pores from getting clogged. So it helps with reducing, acne outbreaks. We know that acne is anything on the outside is coming from the inside. So in order for you to really remedy some of those situations, you need to detox your body and get rid of the toxic stuff on the inside that's coming out on the outside. But bacteria does play a role. It's a serious player with things like acne and that kind of stuff. So when you have antibacterial remedies, those are always good. But if it's antibacterial, so think about it. If you drink wild geranium tea, then you're taking it internally and you're working on your bacterial situation on the inside. So it's powerful, and it's nice that you have the power to take care of yourself in that way, and you don't have to get some kind of prescription for this or that or the other. You can do it yourself. Let's see, what else do we want? Antibacterial, antiseptic. So it'll clean stuff like that up, but it'll also help prevent it. So that's what I'm getting at with that. Preventative as well as, topically taking care of the situation right off. It'll also help prevent that from happening again. It helps regulate imbalanced hormones. Who doesn't like that idea, right? Yes, Emma, it would make a great oil infusion for your skin. Like I said, I use it in my 7 Years Young face cream. I use it in several different things, and I infuse it in oil, and then I make cream with it. So right on. That's exactly right. And like I said, right now you can find wild geranium everywhere outside. So if you are going to want to infuse some into oil and do other things with it, you're going to want to dry it well, because you don't want to use fresh in with oil. You don't want water mixing in your oil and contaminating it. It'll go bad. It'll turn real quick. So you have to have dried herbs for that. So dry your herbs well and then infuse them in your oil and go from there. So balancing your hormones. In particular, the hormones estrogen, progesterone, and insulin are linked to acne flare-ups. Did you know that? So getting your hormones in check is always a good thing. Besides being edible, geranium is also used in things like soap and perfume and face washes and shampoos, hair conditioners. because it's very anti-inflammatory. It's very antibacterial. So it's, you know, a really good thing to add to anything that you're making home. You can get essential oils online. I would recommend that you make sure that it's a good grade. And that doesn't necessarily mean you need to buy it from a pyramid company like some that we know. You just need to do your research and make sure that it's a high grade essential oil, and then use it rather quickly. I keep all my essential oils in a drawer. I actually have one of those cool Kohler toolboxes, you know, with the nice sliding drawers in it, and that's where I keep all my essential oils. It's nice and dark, and then, you know, you don't want to keep them for forever. You want to go ahead and use them up and then get a new one, and then, you know, so that it's as fresh as it can be, because you don't really know how long it's been in that bottle before you get it. I don't care what anybody says. I have a distiller, and I've actually made my own essential oils, but it takes a lot of herb, a lot. And at this point, I haven't been able to grow enough to warrant the work that is involved. But something else that's neat, and I say I'm going to do this every year, and I haven't done it yet. Wild Geranium essential oil. Yes, Sandy, that's it. Is when you can, if you see it growing, and right now mine that I've got outside is blooming. Okay, so I've got these really pretty flowers. You can collect up all those flowers, and you can make a wild geranium flower essence. And then also you can use the whole herb, you know, the stems, the leaves, the flowers, and all of it, and you can make hydrosols. And hydrosols, that technique you can actually do on your stove. You can do yourself, and it creates like, well, you've got the water that can go into a spray, but it contains a certain amount. It separates the essential oil, and you'll see the oil floating on top. So your hydrosol does contain some of the natural essential oil that way. And you know, if you can't find it, or you know, for whatever reason, but you know where it's growing and you want to tackle that one, that's kind of a fun thing to do. It's a Saturday deal, you know, but it is it's not that difficult to do, and you could end up with several bottles of nice wild geranium hydrosol that you could use for face spray and hair, and you could add to different things. So that's an idea as well. Okay, again, it would be a really good thing to add. You know, some of you know that I have this spray I call Misty Magic, because I created it one time. I got into something, I don't know what it was, and I came in the house and my face was covered in bumps and this terrible rash. And so I was like, oh boy. And the next day I had to be somewhere. And so I was like, okay, Lord, I don't know what to do about this. So I just prayed about it and went to bed. But for some reason, I had brought all the herbs that I was harvesting into my house instead of down into the Crooked house. And I never do that. You know, I always take them down there. And I woke up in the night. I woke up about 2 o'clock in the morning with a formula, and it was like, whoa. And so I went downstairs, and sure enough, all those things I'd brought in the house, I had on my counter. So I actually created a little decoction on the stove and cooled it off, and then I just put it all over my face, and I just missed a little spot right here, and then I had to get up at like 6 the next morning, so it was only 4 or 5 hours that I had. And I got up the next morning, and all of that was gone except for that little spot right there. And so that's why I called it Misty Magic, because it was like, this is really cool. So wild geranium would be something that I would definitely add to that formula. Now that I know I have it, and it's right outside. Got a big patch of it. I also have something else growing out there that is going to be fun to work with as well. I might talk about that next week. Okay, what else? Oh, it's very calming, okay, which goes along with being anti-inflammatory. Most anti-inflammatory herbs are very calming. It's very sweet smelling. It's very pleasant. You'll really like it. I hope you guys can find some somewhere. But if not, and you just want to get your hands on some essential oil, do that. It's a good thing to add to like a deodorant or, you know, something like that as well. The hydrosol idea, I think, is a great one. Okay. Geranium tea. Good to taste and great to smell. The tea of this flower is known for its surprising health benefits. It lowers stress, which we've already talked about. And probably one of the main reasons for that is because it helps balance your hormones. So it's calming you down. It's probably interacting with your pituitary gland and your adrenal glands and your, you know, just calming you down. Central nervous system. I know somebody that I need to bring this to tomorrow. It decreases inflammation. So it soothes, you know, inflammatory conditions. It would be great to add to your bath water. It relieves chronic pain. Because why? Because it's analgesic. So a tea made from this would be something good to sip. It's going to release endorphins, so you're going to feel better, but it would also help relieve a headache or anything like that. So geranium tea needs to be something you have in your cupboard. It's also good for body aches. It's good for, you know, any of those conditions, and anything acute, you know, that just flares up. You know, grab that essential oil or that geranium tea. It's also an immune booster. So it's replete with antiseptic, antibacterial, antifungal properties, but it's also an immune booster. You can chew the raw leaves, or you can drink a cup of tea, and it'll flush. It'll just flood your body with antibacterial compounds. So if you're feeling, it was like, actually, I could have used some today. I should have gone outside and got some. I did not get enough sleep last night. And so when I came back into the house after I had run errands and done everything I had to do today, I was really tired. And so I laid down for a few minutes only to find out that I felt worse when I got up. Literally, I just felt worse. And my body kind of hurt. And I thought, oh no. So at that moment, I should have gone and got myself a cup of geranium tea and just dealt with it. I did do the next best thing, and I went in and I took some cuphonimectin and I took some active immune because I don't know, I might be fighting something. So I did what I needed to do to boost my immune system. But sometimes when you detox as well, you feel kind of puny. So I'm just kind of rolling with it to see what happens tomorrow. But it's a good one to have on hand for stuff like that. Good for the body aches. Good for, it strengthens your immune system. It promotes a quick recovery, you know, so you can get over things quicker. And good for flu, good for colds, all of that stuff. Also, it is good for your digestion. So, who doesn't need that, right? Goes along with eating toxic food. We need help with our digestion. So, drinking a cup of geranium tea helps the gastrointestinal system get back into good health. The organic compounds can eliminate harmful bacteria and pathogens, and all in all, you know, the bloating is relieved, the stomach ache or the cramping is relieved. I'm just going to say you just need to get some and try it. As far as getting the tea at the grocery, I am not sure about that. I think you might have better luck with Roots or maybe Whole Foods, or even just looking online. I don't know if geranium tea is going to show up on your standard grocery shelves. They don't normally do specialty things like that, but you can give it a shot. You never know. Pray first. Ask for it. So, it's a popular garden plant, but it's a very medicinal herb. And I highly recommend that if you don't have any, I mean, it's wild. So, but there's no reason you can't get some and plant it. And like I said, any geranium has a lot of those properties. So don't take my word for it. Just, do your own research. If you don't, like I said, whoever thought? I mean, right now, I don't know if you've noticed, but every place you go, whether it's Home Depot or Tractor Supply or the grocery stores, Harps, what do they got out there front and center? Scads of geraniums. Just saying, get some geraniums, plant them in your yard, and then if you can get your hands on some wild geranium, snag it, because I think that's going to be something that you're going to be happy that you incorporated into your routine and in your lifestyle. Sprouts more than likely would have it. And like I said, you could probably order it online too, but try those stores if they're close and you can get to them. It's good to support your local, your local shopping venues instead of the mega things if you can help it. Sometimes when we live out in the sticks like we do, we don't have a whole lot of options, but when you can. Okay, some of the other things that the wild geranium and geranium address, get this, guys: Crohn's disease, duodenal ulcers, gastrointestinal bleeding, stomach ulcers, skin issues like oozing sores, poison ivy, that kind of thing, bowel elimination issues, bloody stools, reproductive health, and vaginal discharge, all those things. Geranium can be your next best friend. Okay, the other thing that I want to talk to you about quickly is kidney issues. Okay, if you've ever passed a kidney stone and you know how painful that is, then you're going to want to listen to me for a couple of minutes. People who have had one stone are more likely to get more. That means that your body doesn't process the minerals and the different things that form stones the way that it should. Not that it can't. We can fix that. But if you've had one, more than likely you'll have more. Fortunately, thank you, Lord, I have never had any. But my sister suffers with them. My mother did. And they can be, they can just take you out. They're really, really painful. So, kidney stones can present in kidneys without any symptoms. Find that hard to believe, but, it can happen. When they start to move in, that's when you'll feel them, when they start moving. Okay, if they're just sitting there, you're not going to feel them. But if they start to move, that's when they start to hurt. I mean, you have to realize what a kidney stone is. It's just a sharp piece of mineral buildup. So that means your body hasn't processed things the way it needed to break stuff down to move it out of your system. And you build it up. That's kind of the same thing that happens with arthritis. Okay, that's why I tell you, especially if you're already suffering with arthritis, you need to drink nothing but distilled water. Because distilled water is empty and hungry, and it grabs all of those minerals and things that are just hanging out and laying around in your body, and it pulls them out and flushes them out. And I promise you, I can connect you with people that after 10 days of drinking distilled water had life-changing effects. They couldn't believe it. So, yeah, distilled water if you've got any kind of stuff like that. And then what happens, it's a chain reaction. So you've got all this buildup and you've got these things lodged and stuff. And then what happens? You start to get inflammation. You start getting inflamed around those lodged things. And then you've got your sore joints, you've got your sore fingers, you've got your sore elbows. Okay? It's not rocket science. And it's not like they want you to think it is. It's not some disease. It's inflammation and poor elimination. As Dr. Christopher used to call it, constipation. There's more ways to be constipated than just in your bowels. Okay. If they pass through the ureters, they can get stuck there and reduce the flow or completely block your flow of urine. That's when it gets dangerous. This can lead to inflammation, blood in the urine, sharp pains in the back, spasms in the ureters. I mean, that's when you're in trouble, okay? But fortunately, there are herbs that dissolve stones. And I've told a lot of you about this for a long time because my kidney kindness tincture contains most of these herbs, okay? Dissolvent. So it'll dissolve things like stones, but it'll also, you have to think about it. What's a bone spur? A bone spur is a stone in your foot. It's the same thing. So if you're suffering with these kinds of things, you need to address them with dissolvent herbs, okay? Calcium deposits, calculi in the kidneys, bladder, joints, gallbladder, arteries, okay? And calcium, calcium is not the demon. It's the fact that your body doesn't assimilate it because most of you are probably taking it in tablet form or capsule form, and our bodies don't assimilate that kind of stuff. It needs to be in your food, good luck with that, or it needs to be in other natural plant-based form, herbs and foods that contain natural calcium that your body will take in and assimilate and use and not lodge. Okay, so here's the first one, gravel root. Gravel root is a great diuretic and it dissolves stones throughout the body, throughout your glandular system, your pituitary, your pineal, your spleen, other parts of the body. It dissolves stones and allows them to be passed out of the body. Gravel root, easy to grow, and it's a pretty plant, actually. The next one, hydrangea root. So let's get those hydrangea hedges going. Hydrangea is the solvent of solvents. That's what Dr. Christopher used to call it. He said it would get rid of stones throughout the body like no other herb can. His recipe for kidney stones was to soak 2 ounces of powdered hydrangea root in a quart of apple juice for 3 days. And you keep it in the fridge for 3 days. You strain it and you bring it to a simmer and heat it for a minute, cool, and keep it in a cool place. Take 2 ounces every hour, every half hour, or every hour until the quart is finished. By the time you finish the quart, he said, you will see the stones coming out. Easy peasy. Just do it. This is where the rubber meets the road for a lot of people, The way we've gotten into this mess is because we have expected everybody else to do everything for us. It's time for you to take control of your own health and your own family's health instead of expecting doctors to just give you meds for it or other people to do whatever they're going to do to remedy your situation. It's time for you to do it. Okay, the next one is uva ursi. And it's also a solvent. It's soothing. And it's astringent, okay? So it's good for your urinary tract. It helps with gravel or ulceration of the kidneys or the bladder. This herb is also used for bedwetting of children by regulating your urinary system. So if you've got a weak bladder, uva ursi is a good one. I put that in my Get a Grip bladder formula. Marshmallow root. Yay! I love marshmallow root. This herb is specific for any urinary tract issue. Who knew, right? Another thing that's good for that is cleavers. It will relieve the attack of kidney stones and gravel and aid in their smooth expulsion. Marshmallow root. It gives prompt relief in gravel and inflammation of the kidneys and the bladder. And it does a whole lot more than that. I use marshmallow in a ton of stuff. I love marshmallow root. I use it as a tincture. I use it as an oil. It's a great tea. That added with wild geranium would make an awesome tea. Hydrangea makes a nice tea too. So these herbs, individually or in combination, I would mix, like maybe equal parts of each one in some distilled water, and you can make a decoction, bring it to a boil and then low simmer until it's like decocted down to about half so that it's nice and strong, and drink, I don't know, a half an ounce or so every half hour or so until it's gone. Or use Dr. Christopher's method, soaking it for 3 days in apple juice. You can tincture it. And let's see, what else can you do with it? Yeah. I like to make tinctures only because they're easier for me to use. And they're probably easier for the general public to use than trying to, whip up a cup of tea every time you need something. I do make syrups, and that you can make with decocted herbs. For children especially, that would be good instead of the tinctures, because usually you use some kind of vodka or, an alcohol. So I have a new formula that I made. It's called Brittle Bone Repair, and it contains a lot of these herbs, and I've made it as a syrup. So it will help with osteoporosis and, bone loss and those kinds of things, assimilating the proper things to strengthen your bones. But I do make that as a syrup instead of, adding the alcohol into the mix, because I'm trying to keep it as pure as possible. Okay. Drink lemon water throughout the day. Make sure you have plenty of distilled water on hand while you're dissolving stones, because you want to flush, right? But those are 2 good things for you to think about. Everybody needs to do it because we're toxic and we know it. And, like I said, you can have stones and you not even know you have them because they're not moving right now. But when they start to move, it could change your life. It could stop your life for a while until you pass them. And, save yourself the grief. So, hydrangea root, gravel root, uva ursi. I'm going to add cleavers to that. And wild geranium. Those are some fun things for you to think about this week. I do have a good brittle bone syrup, Sandy, if you're interested. It's not on my website yet, so if it's something that you do want to order, you can just order phytosympathy and then put in the notes brittle bone repair, and I'll substitute it out. I haven't gotten onto the site to add new products up yet. So I've also been making some changes with my bottling because I'm struggling with the post office with shipping. So I'm making some changes, hopefully for the better. And but yes, I would definitely recommend, giving your body a little workout, a little once over with some dissolvents, and enjoy the flowers while you're at it. Grow some hydrangeas. Grow your own medicine. And look for that wild geranium. I wish I could show you a picture of it. It's really neat. I should have brought some in like I did last week. But any kind of geranium will work, but the wild geranium especially is the sweet one, and it's pleasant. It's very pleasant. So do your own research. And if you're having trouble with numb feet, Sandy, I'm going to recommend that you increase your cayenne pepper intake for circulation. And you probably need to move around a little more. It's circulatory. So you just, cayenne pepper will help. Add cinnamon to things whenever you can if you're not allergic. And increase that diaphoretic circulatory thing. Ginger, cinnamon, cayenne pepper's the best. So that should help. And the deep treat. My deep treat is really good because it's got all those things in it. So just rub it on. We absorb 80% more through our skin than we do through our taking something orally. So slather it on and let it just go in. For that reason, though, if you're going to do any kind of cleansing soaks, like the borax, baking soda soak or whatever, make sure that after you've done that soak, you shower and don't, so that stuff doesn't just go right back into your skin. Make sure you shower off anything that's come out. Okay. All right, guys. Well, it's a little early tonight, but I wanted to give you those little tidbits, and I hope that you are having a blessed evening. I hope you have decent weather and are safe. I have noticed that there is some tornadic activity in parts of the country, so stay safe, and Lord willing, I'll see you next Thursday at 7 o'clock. God bless. Love you guys.